We've all had those clients before. Mind sending over your pricing guide? Can you just give me a ballpark of how much your service costs? Without a doubt, as a small business owner, you're gonna meet people out there who want to get the best deal with their money. Heck, I like to think that I'm one of those people. But when it comes to being a small business owner, you're also gonna hear things like, you're too expensive, or that's way out of my price range. But don't give up on those price shoppers just yet. In this video, I'm talking to you and giving you some tips on how to turn those price shoppers into very valuable customers or clients. My hope is by the end of this video, you'll never send out one of those PDF one-pagers with your pricing on it ever again. We can do better than that, and I'm going to show you how in this video. Click the like button if you're excited about this, or if you've ever sent your pricing off before and heard crickets back. While you're down there, hit subscribe and the bell next to it. My name is Ashlyn Carter. I'm a conversion copywriter and brand and launch strategist for creatives like you. I love helping you figure out what to say with your words, because not knowing what to say shouldn't be the thing holding you back from making sales. Let's kick off with my 2 golden rules about price shoppers. But let's define our terms first. What do I mean when I'm talking about price shoppers? These are your cost-conscious consumers. They're out there diligently trying to figure out what things cost. And while a general rule of thumb is that they probably avoid buying expensive things, there's a lot of us out there who just like a good deal. I, for one, scroll websites like The Real Real all the time, which is why I want to talk to you about value-driven customers. Your value shoppers are price shoppers who can probably be converted. Their mind is open to being changed or educated on the value of something. These are the people to go for. Here are my 2 overarching golden rules. Number 1, don't talk about price until you talk about value. This is why sending over that PDF one-pager or just letting people initially see your prices, that doesn't always give you the opportunity to educate them on why it costs what it costs. Which goes along with my second golden rule, which is this: your price will always be too high until you anchor it. Now, how you communicate the value of what you do to your clients or your customers is up to you, and it may be some combination. You can obviously do it with copywriting. That's what we're going to talk about in this video, but I've also talked about the importance of a really good discovery call or coffee date, whatever you call that kickoff meeting where you're checking each other out. Have a good script for that. Again, like I've talked about that in a video before. This is why sending over that PDF of your prices doesn't work, because you're only competing on price, really. Because most of your clients and customers are solution oriented, here are 5 ways you can turn those price shoppers into a valuable client. Number 1, speak to all 4 buying styles. Not everybody out there likes to buy like you do. Some people want the story and the emotion. Some people are really going to be convinced with proof. Some people need all the A to Z nitty-gritty before they're going to feel comfortable in investing. This is why inside Copywriting for Creatives and with our clients and customers, I'm obsessed with using my Sweet 16 sales page or services page guide. Mostly because this gives us the freedom to pull different levers psychologically with the things that people may need to hear. So that's my first tip. If you haven't yet, look down below. I have my anatomy of a services or a sales page. You can look through that and start to understand what I'm saying and the different layers that go inside this sales argument that you're making. You can also use this inside a welcome magazine or your pricing guide. Again, I don't have a problem with sending over a pricing PDF or magazine. We do that in my agency business, but we have to do something called price anchoring, which I'm going to talk about more in this video. Tip number 2, have an onlyness factor, as I call it. This is why we spend an entire lesson on this inside Copywriting for Creatives, because you need to be able to tell me why you do what you do differently or better than somebody that does the same thing you do, especially if they do that same thing and they charge less. Instead of competing on price, have more of that blue ocean strategy and figure out how you can be the only one that does what you do in a certain way. That's something I'm so passionate supporting our CFC community through. Look down below to get on the wait list. We're opening doors soon. Tip number 3, productize your service. I asked in a recent video if you wanted me to do a whole episode on how to productize your service. You said yes, so that's on the docket for you, but I have found that's one thing that's very helpful when it comes to explaining your value. It kind of goes in tandem with having your onlyness factor, but if you have a unique experience that you can guide someone through, that's a whole lot more helpful when it comes to arguing the value of it. Put this on your reading list if you haven't ever read it. Built to Sell is a good book that really talks about the basics of a productized service, and again, even if you're never considering building a business to sell, which I think is a great way to at least orchestrate and architect your business. But even if you don't want to do that, it's a great book to give you a primer and a mindset shift that, if you've not been introduced to before, is probably helpful. Number 4, leverage price anchoring. Okay, the beauty of that Sweet 16 sales page template is we're starting to communicate and help them understand what all goes into it. You've got to be the leader for your client. They don't know what they don't know, and you can't fault them for that. You have to help them understand what are the features of this, what goes into it, how long do different things take. They don't know. So you are in the leadership position, and you have to make sure that you're walking them through this very clearly and simply in a way that they can understand. Then after you've made all that clear, you're going to do price anchoring. And here I'm just helping my customer or my client understand they're gonna spend this money somehow, either with their time or with their actual cash. They're gonna spend money. What else might they do? I need to put this into terms that they can understand. That's why I sometimes call this the Starbucks test, because we've all bought something before where you hear you could give up your monthly coffee habit and skip the pumpkin spice lattes and be able to buy this, or you could just keep spending that money. You're gonna spend it anyway. My next tip, if you don't think your business sticker prices are a good way to go, or you don't think you're able to communicate the value before you bring up that price, then demonstrate the price via a range, or say starting at, or give an estimated percentage of what somebody could expect. So expect to spend about 10 to 15% of your entire wedding budget on paper and stationery needs, for example. Tip number 6 is be clear. Show why it costs what it does. I think being very transparent here only behooves you. Itemize what goes into the product, especially you service providers out there. I'll throw you that Picasso anecdote you've probably heard before, where Picasso sketched something really quick and some man said, "Wow, that only took you a minute." And he said, "No, that took me decades." It goes something like that, but that's what I'm trying to communicate. You've got to be clear and help your client know what goes into this process. They only see the tip of the iceberg, so help them understand. I also think this demystifies any kind of concern that there may be, I guess, about an inflated or a jacked up price that you just pulled out of nowhere. Show that you very logically came to the conclusion of your pricing and be able to argue for it. Okay, now you know what a price shopper is versus what a value shopper is, and how you can still go out there and win them. I've talked to you about my 2 golden rules, and I've given you 6 ideas and ways that you can start to coax these price shoppers along the way into becoming valuable clients and customers. The last thing I want to do is talk to you about 2 reasons you may need to just shut up. The first one is you need to hush your mouth, because it's time to let the case studies and the testimonials in your portfolio work shine. Do not underestimate the value in having people speak about what you do as a way to help that price shopper convert to a value shopper. So many of us are buyers that are driven by reviews. Think about, when was the last time you bought something on Amazon and didn't look at reviews or see how many stars it had? I haven't been proven wrong yet. I've said for a long time that I don't think there's such thing as too much social proof, so until I'm proven otherwise, I'm gonna keep saying that. Pack that into your pricing magazine or your welcome guide, whatever tool that it is you're using to communicate that value before you bring up the price. Use social proof. And this video would be amiss if I didn't tell you when to just shut up and walk away when that price shopper is just gonna be looking for the coupon wherever they go. The first red flag, they're not letting you assume a position of leadership or hop in the driver's seat. Now, we all need and covet feedback on our customer experience or our client experience. I'm not saying that. I think we always need to be open to hear how we could have more clearly communicated something to our audience. I'm talking about that person that is not letting you be the expert in your field. The same way I wouldn't hire a brand photographer and then try to tell them, here is all of the shot lists that I need. I think the lighting needs to be like this and the settings on your camera like this. It's not my job. My opinion is to zip your lips and walk away from the price shopper if they're really not letting you at least explain why your product or service costs what it does. Number 2, if they're pushing you to cut your margins razor thin, that is, they seem to be more interested in saving money than getting the best-in-class product or service possible. I have found for those people, it's good to have 2 little blurbs ready to go. One is a blurb explaining how you are competitively priced for what you do. And number 2 is some kind of copy or communications on when they can expect to get the best deal possible. Tell them, okay, save up. You know what? We have a great mini session special that launches every fall, or we have an annual Black Friday sale. Whatever those launch specials are, you can mention. But again, we're hoping to get out way in front of this problem by communicating your value early on before they ever are able to think of a number and be able to compare it to something they've got in their head. Sometimes your prices just aren't in alignment with someone's budget or vibe, and that's okay. But if you are thinking somebody out there might just be a price shopper, don't give up on them. See how you can step into a position of leadership and help them understand the value it is of what you do. Remember, a lot of times they don't know just because someone's never told them before. I've got some more sales copywriting tips teed up for you. Be sure to look down below and hop on the wait list for Copywriting for Creatives and the homepage homecoming challenge that's coming up. I'm so excited about it. Here's to working from a place of more rest, less hustle, and I'll see you in the next video.